That news broke first that they were going to sign Auden Tate. And I thought, because he's so big, he's like 6'5", 230, I thought they were going to move him to flex tight end because they had worked out two tight ends. One of them was Dalton Keene. I forget the other one. And Auden Tate at the same time. And I thought, well, maybe they're looking at tight ends. Maybe they consider Auden Tate a tight end. So they sign him first, but then they get Keene as well.
Mac guys here on Birds 365. Yes, the countdown is well on. Just 3 days until the game getting underway. And we will go behind enemy lines next hour. Tim Twentyman, who covers the Lions for the DetroitLions.com, going to hop aboard, jump in with us. All right, Johnny Mac, we've talked a lot about expectations. We're going to do it today. We're going to do it tomorrow as well before the season gets underway. But the Eagles actually made some moves yesterday. They made one move that left the move open for them yet to make. And, of course, they're not going to tell you, me, or anybody else. So I'm going to ask you to speculate on who's going to be filling in for Mr. Dillard's spot on the roster. But we got to build up to that. Major practice squad moves yesterday. Reed Sinnett, we hardly knew ye. No longer a Philadelphia Eagle. They flipped a couple practice squad spots. No issues for me because that's what the practice squad is for, is to have balance behind your actual 53-man roster. And Eagles saw a little bit of an imbalance. What do you think of the practice squad juggling and shifting?
Before I get into that, I want to mention, because Field Yates just reported, and Field, has a direct line to the NFLPA database. So it's funny because how Field worded it, and it's correctly right. It's true. And a near annual rite of passage, the Eagles have restructured the contract of Lane Johnson. So Howie Roseman converted $5.88 million of Johnson's base salary and $2.715 million of Jake Elliott's base salary into signing bonuses, so they'll get the money up front. What that does is create $6.9 million, so nearly $7 million in cap space immediately for Howie Roseman. So that's a typical Howie Roseman move, and he does it on the eve of the regular season. As for the practice squad, as you mentioned,
well, hold on. Since you brought that up, now I got to ask you about it. Why? Usually you do something that for a reason, for a purpose, so you have the flexibility and the cash available to be able to do something. What do you think Howie was trying to do?
Not necessarily. Howie's always thinking in two. Really, with Howie, it's usually three-year increments. So, a lot of people think when you create space, it's for immediacy, but you always want to have. The Eagles they want to have probably 15, somewhere in that range, a cushion in case they need to do something. Could be a trade down the road at the trade deadline. They want to have that flexibility. So he's been doing this kind of stuff for years. It doesn't necessarily indicate, they're going to go out and trade for, I don't know, who you want to throw out there, Jesse Bates or whatever. It doesn't always indicate something immediate. Now, it could be an extension. We talked about extensions yesterday on the show.
Right.
But he's always working in 2-3 year increments as a whole. And as Field said, with Lane, it's become an annual thing. He gets his money up front, and they kind of ship money around that way. And everybody's happy. And most contracts, by the way, everybody thinks about, the player has to approve it. Usually it's written in now. Now they just can do it whenever they want to do it. And players are happy anyway because they get all their money up front. But so anyway, I wanted to let people in on that. But with the practice squad, and now that it's 16, even more so, you see this around the league. You have constant churn on the back end of the on the practice squad roster. And with the kid from the Jets, they signed him before they got Trey Sermon
Right.
at
Made
running
sense.
back. So, they probably didn't need that redundancy. We talked about Reed Sinnett. Would he be back? Why do you need 4 quarterbacks now that Ian Book is here? They probably got a look at Ian Book and said, well, I'm not a huge fan. Nice kid. Got to meet him yesterday. I don't know what the ceiling is, but it's probably higher than Reed Sinnett. So, I mean, that's where the Eagles are with that. They don't need a 4th quarterback. They do need some backup tight end help. So, the kid from New England, he was a 3rd-round pick. Didn't work out for whatever reason with the Patriots. Had some knee injuries. That's a worthwhile dart throw, I would say, especially at that particular position. Auden Tate was interesting because he's played a little bit with Cincinnati. He's a really big receiver. That news broke first that they were going to sign Auden Tate. And I thought, because he's so big, he's like 6'5", 230. I thought they were going to move him to flex tight end because they had worked out 2 tight ends. One of them was Dalton Keene. I forget the other one. And Auden Tate at the same time. And I thought, well, maybe they're looking at tight ends. Maybe they consider Auden Tate a tight end. So they sign him first, but then they get Keene as well. So, Tate's got some success in the NFL. He's caught some passes with Cincinnati. No, it doesn't hurt. Just keep churning till you find something.
Here was the only thing that surprised me about the churn. If they're going to do something, and again, all best of luck wishes to the 2 guys who are given their walking papers, Peagrine and Sinnett. I hope they land somewhere else and their career flourishes. But yeah, they were redundant here in Philadelphia. It didn't make sense to have them here. There must not be not one return guy on the street in the National Football League right now.
Well, think about what Eagles fans think about Jalen Reagor, and Minnesota trades for Jalen Reagor because they don't have a stinking punt returner. There aren't a lot of returners.
Holy mackerel. Is that a lost art, Johnny Mac? I know that
bit.
Because of the rules in the National Football League, specifically kickoffs, more than anything, is it because the Chargers coach goes for it on 4th down every single time that people have now decided, well, we don't really need a punt returner anymore? Kids in college are going, well, I don't really need to work on catching punts because they don't need them in the NFL anymore. How is the land so barren?
Yeah, a little bit. And kick returner more than punt returner. There's Britton Covey returned a heck of a lot of punts at Utah. He can do it.
Yeah, but not enough for him to make the Eagles' regular 53-man roster.
No, but I mean, he's also 5'8", 160 pounds. So, I mean, that has something to do with it as well.
And what always tells me that things flow up to the National Football League, then that should mean his 5'8" status and excellence in college should flow right up to the National
ultimately, now you have to have a baseline of sort of physical traits to play in the NFL. There's a lot of good college players who, don't hit that baseline. Reed Blankenship is an interesting guy to me. I just wrote about him yesterday. He's, he made this team, and Howie mentioned this, when they got him. He was a 5-year starter at Middle Tennessee State and, in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. 5-year starter, and he showed up. Now, if you're a 5-year starter, Jody, in Tuscaloosa or South Bend or Columbus or Norman, wherever, you're going to be a first-round pick probably. At Middle Tennessee State, everybody's going to go, it's Middle Tennessee State. But I got news for you. He showed up here as so much more polished than the average young player, no matter where they come from, where they are, because he played so much football. To me, he is a perfect example of what we always talk about on this show. Some people think we talk about it too much about, practice and preparation and reps and live reps. And I've been talking about this going all the way back to the old World League when quarterbacks like Brad Johnson and Kurt Warner and Jake Delhomme came out of there. And because that's such a high profile position, people obviously recognize those names now, and they became legitimate starting quarterbacks. One of them, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Another one, a Super Bowl winner.
Winning, yeah.
And the other, and Jake Delhomme made a Super Bowl, didn't win it, but started a Super Bowl. So, when you play, it makes you better. And even if it's the World League, even if it's the CFL or the XFL or the USFL or Middle Tennessee State. Now, sometimes these guys don't have the physical traits to play at the NFL level. But if you can find that guy, Adam Thielen's a perfect example of this. If you can find that guy who has the physical traits and got overlooked for whatever reason by NFL scouts, and I think that might be the case. I think the Eagles might have lucked out with Reed Blankenship. He's so much more polished than guys who Kayvon went to Clemson, right? He's so much more polished just from playing football, even at Middle Tennessee State. Anyway, just throwing it out there.
If the Eagles judge via film work in the first half and what they expect and what they've crammed into Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for game number one, if he's not getting it done in the first half, is it Reed Blankenship to the rescue in the second half at safety for the Eagles?
I think it would be before Kayvon. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to bench CJ. It would have to be really bad, like multiple blown coverages. And I don't think he's going to have multiple blown coverages. He's played too much football at the NFL level. So I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, right now, if you forced me to pick who would they play first, I think at safety, I think it would be Reed Blankenship. As crazy as that sounds.
All right, let me ask you this about the Lions, and we're hoping to get Tim Twentyman up here. I just reached out to him. He hasn't gotten a link yet, but hopefully we can get it to him before we're supposed to punch him up in about 10 minutes from now. I watch Hard Knocks. I haven't watched the 5th episode yet. I got busy yesterday, and I was planning on watching it. I still haven't had the chance to be able to watch it. I hope that I can do so today, later in the day. Do you believe that they're going to be able to do anything offensively against this Eagles defense? I'm still in the wait and see mode about Gannon and how he's going to handle things and be able to do certain things. But does this Lion offense scare you at all coming into game number one?
It doesn't. I wouldn't say it scares me. And, one of the things I've been talking about, I think the best, and we'll get to talk about this hopefully with Tim. I've been telling you, I think the best player on the Lions is their center, Frank Ragno. And he wasn't there last year. He got hurt. I think it was week 4, week 5, somewhere in there. And he was out for the season. He's back, but now he's got a groin injury. So he was limited yesterday. I don't know if he's going to be able to play. We mentioned earlier Halapuli Baitai is also a starter for them. He's out. He was placed on injured reserve, so he's going to miss at least the first 4 games. So if they're missing 2 of their starters on the offensive line, that to me is the strength of their team when they're healthy. If Ragnow's there, Baitai's there, they also have Penei Sewell. He's got tremendous talent. Everybody remembers him from the draft last year. Taylor Decker's a former first-round pick at tackle as well. And, even Jonah Jackson is a former third-round pick. So they do have some talent on the offensive line. And when you can block people, you can do some things in the NFL. But the Lions skill position people don't scare me at all. And that's one of the reasons they drafted Jameson Williams, but he's not healthy. He's not going to be able to, he's not going to play, obviously, coming back from the torn ACL. So it's going to be a while before they get him in the lineup. And you start talking about DeAndre Swift, who is a Philly kid, so people know him. He's a good back, but he's not explosive. Jamal Williams, good back. He's not going to scare you. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably the best receiver. Usually in the NFL, think about week 2, right? Week 2, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are coming in. Usually when you're playing an NFL team, they have a better receiver than Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that's where the Lions hope to be with Jameson Williams. And maybe things change when he gets back. And because I think he's got a chance to be a really good player, but their skill position people don't scare me. Their best skill position player is probably TJ Hawkinson, the tight end.
I was going to say, is that not the biggest concern? Because, well, maybe it shouldn't be, because most people say that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's strength over anything else is his ability to cover, that he's a good cover guy. That's why he's playing in the slot for his previous team and why he's going to be playing safety for the Eagles. And they say that the two positions mirror each other. Is he going to get the assignment on Hawkinson more than anybody else?
Well, I think it's, there's a possibility of that. There's also a possibility of Kaiser White. I mean, that's why Kaiser is here. If you want a bigger body as well. So the Eagles have more options. They had, I get what you're saying, because the Eagles had a lot of difficulty with tight ends last year. And that's the reason Kaiser White is here. And that's the reason CJ Gardner-Johnson is here. So yeah, you're going to get, Hawkinson's a very good tight end, but he's also not an explosive tight end. I think last year he had a ton of catches, probably 9-10 yards a catch. So, he might be that guy who's going to catch 9 balls for 80 yards or something. And that's probably what he did against the Eagles last year, something in that range, but doesn't scare me. That's the thing. I don't see many explosive options for the Lions, and that's a concern. And the Eagles will tell you, and Nick Sirianni talks about it constantly, Jonathan Gannon, they both talk about it constantly, turnovers, explosive plays. So how did the Lions generate explosive plays? I think that's going to be difficult for them.
And that's one of the things that sorry, I just don't have faith that the Lions are going to be able to do, no matter how popular they were, because they presented themselves well. Excuse me, on Hard Knocks. I just don't like their offense. And Jared Goff is not a playmaker. We're going to find out how big a playmaker Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Damn,
well, you're right. Easy. I mean, it's not, and that's what I said. It's not a scary offense. I'll put it that way. They have to do things methodically. And when you have to do things methodically, it's more difficult. If you got to go, that's the whole thought process of Jonathan Gannon's defense, Jody. Make somebody go 15 plays, 80 yards. It's a lot easier when you can create the 40-yard splash play, and all of a sudden, all right, we're in business. They're going to have a difficult time creating splash plays, and that kind of plays right into the Eagles' hands.
It does take a little doing for the Eagles coming up on game number 1 on Sunday versus the Lions. All right, we're going to take a quickie timeout, come back. We're hoping to get Tim 20 minutes up. We're having trouble getting through to him and getting him the link so that he can hop aboard and join us. If he doesn't, John and I will continue to look ahead to week 1 versus the Detroit Lions. We've still got 40 minutes with you left here on this Thursday before the season gets underway edition of Birds 365.